just like him, just like him. Just like, just like, just like, just like, just like, just like. People want for all these killers and all these conflicts of religions, and the Muslims, Jews, and Christians, but know that we're all God's children, and there's only one of Him. Plus, ain't none of y'all confront Him. We're so blind in our own mind, we wouldn't even know God if we was in front of Him. Man, how read your books, know all your remixes to the Bible. What about a verse for the thugs, cure the drugs, and survival? Let's ask some chapters, name of Mark, Malcolm, and Farrakhan. In all my history books, only one died was the Americans. And let's point them out, who's responsible for Vietnam. And hold on, there's more. We had 2 world wars. And how come the judges make more than the teachers is making? They the one raising all the taxes and got us fighting for education. Life is crazy, ain't it?
So many tears throughout the years. Somebody tell me what's going on. And so many lies.
Peace, y'all.
But only God knows about the pain deep inside. It gets so hard. You gotta keep head up, know you're better. But stay strong. Here's a message from coast to coast. Cause when them thugs really need it the most, the holiday.
Just like, 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 just like.
This is for my people in the ghetto. I'm calling out to all my thugs in the ghetto. Calling out. It gets hard sometimes, but you gotta keep your head up and be strong. Here's a message from coast to coast. Cause when the thugs really need it the most, the holiday. Cause we need it, gotta have it. Cause it gets hard out here in these streets. You know what I mean? In the ghetto, I'm calling out to all of my thugs in the ghetto. Can you hear what I'm saying? All of my thugs from the ghetto, ghetto. The song is dedicated to the ghetto. Message from coast to coast. Cause when them thugs really need it the most, I thought holiday. I said thug holiday. We need it.
All right, what's up, y'all? Peace, man. Welcome back. We get this, bro. Pause. All right, we're about to get into it right now.
I chose Wix for my business because
nobody trying to do D'Angelo right now. All right, so yeah, we're about to get into it right now, yeah. First things first, man. 2023 ended. Matter of fact, yeah, let's end 2023 off right. 2023 ended with this war popping off with Israel and Hamas. All right, like I said, I believe Hamas is down with Mossad as a CIA organization. They're designed to get the Palestine people up out of what they're colonizing into Israel. All right, the Israelis. All right, so yeah, if you could tell, man, look at the symbol, man. The symbols. We was talking about this after we got off the live. I think it was Sunday. We was talking about when people can't understand you. You know what I'm saying? If you traveling and you run into a language barrier, a good thing to use is sign language. All right, and that's sign language is basically symbols. All right, so that's just a universal way to communicate with all type of people. So you could have, I hate to use this, but like the Freemasons said, they're traveling men. So they would be the ones traveling out and interacting with different tribes and stuff like that. All right. So in order to communicate, they would need hand signals and hand signs. This is why the symbols are so important to these people, because it's ancient. There's a way to communicate. You know what I'm saying? This is all stuff to save your life. Like we was talking about the 2 sticks rubbing together. The 2 sticks rubbing together make the cross. That's why the Holy Cross is so important, because you would need that fire, right? You would definitely need that fire. But I just wanted to show the symbolism of how, they got this is basically skull and crossbones too. And like I showed, the guy who started Hamas, just let me see if I can find it right quick. The founder of Hamas, right? You look at the day that he died on, it says March 22nd. That's 322. That's skull and bones. So, and you see the same, just looking at the symbol, you could tell that these people are connected, right? That's how we've been saying, man, the higher ups are all connected, right? And we basically learned through them. Right? But if you can't see, if you're blinded, you ain't gonna be able to see this stuff, right? Now, this is the Denver Nuggets just won the championship. They got that same symbol, right? The double X, that skull and crossbone symbol. All right, so what I wanted to get into today, because we're going into 2024. 2024 is an election year. So with it being an election year, we got to see what the candidates is talking about, right? My personal favorite is Ron DeSantis, because I did a video about him a while about him beating Charlie Crist. Was DeSantis' name is like the Satan, and then Charlie Crist is like Christ. All right, so I believe that was some symbolism right there, and is leading into this election. I really don't want to see Donald Trump and Joe Biden argue again, man. I don't want to see two old men fighting again. I want some new blood in there. And these Republicans coming up, I mean, this was a slobber knocker. Shout out to Jim Ross for WWE. This was a slobber knocker right here.
Candidates will have 90 seconds to answer questions, 60 seconds to give a rebuttal at the moderator's discretion. You will all see the timing lights that will indicate when time is up and it's time to stop talking.
And the time we have is critical over the next 2 hours, so we ask the audience to please keep your applause to a minimum.
All right, with that, let's get started.
The guy who's going to steal the show is this guy right here. His name is Vivek Ramaswamy. All right. So there's another name we got to learn is, I got to learn Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I got to learn Victor Wembanyama. Now I got to learn Vivek. I don't forgot his last name. But yeah, this guy's pretty good, though. I like Vivek. He's still, you can tell he's still controlled, though. DeSantis, he's going to be beefing with this chick, Nikki Haley. Well, everybody's kind of beefing with Nikki Haley. Chris Christie, that's another Christ, right? He's going to take up for the woman. But, man, listen to Vivek. He's just ruthless with it, man. I'm kind of digging him. I would like to see Trump pick him up as a vice president, and then Trump run with him. That'd be nice. Or I like to see DeSantis and him run together against Joe Biden. That'd be nice. All right. But Trump, man, they ain't giving Trump no press time. They trying to lock him up. They hated Trump in 2016, but he stayed on TV. He was always on TV. Right? That's how you kind of know he's going to eventually be president. All right, man, we got a lot to get to today, man. I got this thing speeded up so we can hurry up and knock this out. But they talking some good shit. And like I said, we're looking ahead to 2024. 2024, 2 + 2 is 4. And then add another 4 is 8. It's an 8 universal year. 8 is for abundance. All right. It's the universal number of for basically God, right? And like I said, 7 is a spiritual number. Now we get into 8. 8 is representing the abundance of God. All right. So it's gonna be a lot of money made. And I was trying to get this video done early before the stock market started blowing up, but it's already blowing up. It's already doing its thing. And like Bitcoin is back up, everything, the stock is back up, man. And like I said, it's an 8 universal year. That means it's an 8 universal year for everybody. So it's some money coming for everybody. And like I said, Joe Biden, somehow, some way, the the end of his presidency is going to be tied to some money in somehow, some way. All right, he's Green Screen Joe. All right, let's go.
On stage tonight, 4 candidates, all vying to become their party's nominee. And given the state of affairs in our political system right now, one of you might very well do it. Even many Democrats now admit that President Biden is a weak candidate, just as many Republicans acknowledge that former President Donald Trump's multiple legal troubles could imperil his quest for a second term, all of which means one of you could wind up the leader of the free world. Having said that, Mr. Trump is nearly 50 points ahead of all of you in the national polls, 29 points ahead in Iowa, where the GOP caucuses are less than 6 weeks away. And so, as Republicans get ready to vote on whether it might be preferable to Mr. Trump, we begin with the question of electability. Governor DeSantis, your campaign and its super PAC have spent the most money, had the most high net worth donors, and had a wave of momentum coming into this race after your big re-election win in Florida. You were seen by many as the candidate most likely to consolidate the non-Trump field. But here we are, a month out from the first real votes, and you haven't managed to do it. In fact, Nikki Haley is beating you in New Hampshire and South Carolina now, and closing in on you in Iowa, not to mention Trump, who is not only dominating in the early states, but is beating you in Florida by over 30 points. Is it fair to say, as Senator Tim Scott did when he dropped out, that voters are telling you, not no, but not now?
So we have a great idea in America that the voters actually make these decisions, not pundits or pollsters. I'm sick of hearing about these polls because I remember those polls in November of 2022. They said there was going to be a big red wave. It was going to be monumental, and that crashed and burned. The one place it didn't crash and burn was in the state of Florida. They weren't predicting that I would win the way I did, and I won the greatest Republican victory in the history of the state of Florida. I'm looking forward to Iowa and New Hampshire. The voters are going to be able to speak, and we're going to earn this nomination. And here's what we need. I am sick of Republicans who are not willing to stand up and fight back against what the left is doing to this country. You've got to be willing to stand strong, and you've got to be willing to beat these people. I'm the only one running for president that has beaten these people on issue after issue. We beat the teachers' unions when we did school choice. We beat Fauci on COVID. We beat George Soros when we removed 2 of his radical district attorneys. We beat the Democrats on election integrity.
I remember the Dollar General shooting that was in Jacksonville, Florida, and Ron DeSantis came out there, and he received a lot of criticism for that. But that DG, I was saying that DG, Dollar General, and look about money, the Dollar General. A general is a general of war, right? The dollar is for money. I said Joe Biden's gonna be something's up with some money. All right, but just like Draymond Green getting in trouble and getting suspended, right? DG is 47. D is the 4th letter. G is the 7th. So Draymond Green, Dollar General. Anybody else named DG, you better watch out, Denny Green. But DG, I'm telling you, it's DG 47. Or it could be now. We could keep it like
delivered results. That's what we need for this country. And you have other candidates up here like Nikki Haley. She caves anytime the left comes after her, anytime the media comes after her. I did a bill in Florida to stop the gender mutilation of minors. It's child abuse and it's wrong. She opposes that bill. She thinks it's fine and the law shouldn't get involved with it. If you're not willing to stand up for the kids, if you're not willing to stand up and say that it is wrong to mutilate these kids, then you're not going to fight for the people back home. I will fight for you and I will win for you.
All right, so that's regular politician talk right there. I'll fight for you, I'll win. It's about to get nasty. They're gonna go after old girl because she is kicking their ass.
Ambassador Haley, you left government service in 2018 with just $100,000 in the bank. 5 years later, you're reportedly worth $8 million, thanks to lucrative corporate speeches and board memberships like you had with Boeing. Weeks ago, you met with Wall Street heavyweights, including leaders from JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and BlackRock. Several other billionaire investors are reportedly ready to endorse you, or recently have.
BlackRock is this big investment group that's buying up, they buying up properties, but they buying up stocks. They just buying up everything. They trying to own the world is what it is looking like. This place called BlackRock. Okay, so you want to keep a lookout for BlackRock. Anybody associated with BlackRock, suspicion goes up, And like I'm saying, man, 2024 is 8 years. Gonna be a lot of money floating around. So you want to plant your seeds as early as possible so they can grow. This is investment talk. I can't give out financial advice because I ain't a financial advisor. But man, this is it's a rare opportunity, man. Like 2008 when the stock market crashed, it's a rare opportunity. I mean, not the stock market, the housing market crashed. It's a rare opportunity to get housing, right, assets at a discount price. Like when the stock market crashed, everybody panics, but it's a time to buy stocks at a discounted price, right? When 2020 happened, you knew that even though they didn't let the stock market crash, it should have. It was low as shit. It was like right there. But yeah, man, that's the time to get in when everybody else is panicking and scared. You know, you want to do your research and do your due diligence. But man, your money can work way harder than you can. I just put it like that.
All of which comes with expectations. Aren't you too tight with the banks and the billionaires to win over the GOP's working class base, which mostly wants to break the system, not elect someone beholden to it?
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. You know, first I'll tell you, just to respond to Ron, he continues to lie about my record. I actually said his Don't Say Gay bill didn't go far enough because it only talked about gender until the 3rd grade. And I said it shouldn't be done at all, that's for parents to talk about, it shouldn't be talked about with schools. In reference to donors coming on board, look, we will take support from anybody we can take support from, but I have been a conservative fighter all my life. I was a Tea Party candidate when I became governor. We opposed every single corporate bailout we possibly could. We passed tort reform. We passed one of the toughest illegal immigration laws in the country. We passed pro-life bills. We moved in unemployment from 11% to 3%. We took on the unions and we took on Obama when it came to the unions, the Syrian refugees, and everything in between. And so I've had a fight. And so as much as Ron says that, that's not true. But when it comes to these corporate people that want to suddenly support us, we'll take it. But I don't ask them what their policies are. They ask me what my policies are. And I tell them what it is. Sometimes they agree with me. Sometimes they don't. Some don't like how tough I am on China. Some don't like the fact that I've signed pro-life bills. Some don't like the fact that I may oppose corporate bailouts. That doesn't matter. That's who I am. And that's why the most conservative grassroots group in the country, Americans for Prosperity, endorsed me last week.
Well, because he didn't respond to the criticism. It wasn't about the Parents' Rights and Education bill. It was about prohibiting sex change operations on minors. They do puberty blockers. These are irreversible. Talk to Chloe Cole. She went through this. Now she's an adult. She's warning against it. She may never be able to have kids again. That is what Nikki Haley opposed. She said the law shouldn't get involved in that. And I just ask you, if you're somebody that's going to be the president of the United States and you can't stand up against child abuse.
Yeah, they pushing that heavy, man. And it's all about, like I said, planting the seed. They plant the seed, and then a child is born into this world. They're vulnerable to the adults and the politicians that we got their best interests at heart. You know what I'm saying? So while we come from a different world, man. And so we can see it coming. Right. And we've been screaming it for years. Right? People have been screaming this for years. It's like, the entertainment business is on some funny stuff. So funny style stuff, pushing this trans and gay stuff. And like you see it, like as close as we get to 2030, you're seeing it more and more, And it's crazy because there's not that many people. But look, politicians can take a small problem and make it into a huge problem, which can actually be a distraction from the real problems that is going on, especially in America. You know what I'm saying?
How are you going to be able to stand up for anything? That is the truth. We have it on video.
I said that if you have to be 18 to get a tattoo, you should have to be 18 to have anything done to change your gender.
You said the law should stay out of it.
So Acorns is a financial tech company.
You ain't gonna be able to make it through this. I'm gonna get that premium back, man.
We're going to get to this in more detail later. Let's finish with electability, but trust me, we're coming back to this issue. Mr. Ramaswamy, for months, you campaigned as a unifier. Then you stood up at the first debate and attacked all of your competitors as bought and paid for. The second debate, you changed your tune, saying, these are good people on this stage, admitting you can come across as a bit of a know-it-all and rejecting the practice of personal insults. By debate number 3, you called Nikki Haley corrupt, accused Ron DeSantis of wearing high heels, and told Ambassador Haley she should keep a closer eye on her daughter. Can you see how...
I told y'all he hell, man. This is the guy right here.
This has led some to conclude you are not, in fact, a unifier, and to question your authenticity.
Megyn, I think there's a time and place for everything. We need somebody in the White House who absolutely is going to be a fighter when it counts. And I did say that there were some good people on that stage in that third debate. Doug Burgum was on that stage at that time, and I'll say that jokingly. Ron DeSantis is a good person, too. I want to go back, though, to Nikki Haley's comment from earlier that she is somehow not responding to the will of these donors. Nikki, you were bankrupt when you left the UN. After you left the UN, you became a military contractor. You actually started joining service on the board of Boeing, whose back you scratched for a very long time, and then gave foreign multinational speeches like Hillary Clinton is. And now you're a multimillionaire. That math does not add up. It adds up to the fact that you are corrupt. And when I said they were bought and paid for, I meant the Republican establishment, not the Democratic establishment. Now you have Reid Hoffman, the person who's effectively George Soros Jr., funding lawsuits across this country against Donald Trump to keep him off the ballot, funding left-wing causes. We discovered this week that he is one of Nikki Haley's largest supporters. Larry Fink, the king of the woke industrial complex, the ESG movement, the CEO of BlackRock, the most powerful company in the world, now supporting Nikki Haley. And to say that doesn't affect her is false, because it's after that meeting later that day that she says that every American needs to be doxxed by having their ID, their government-issued ID, tied to what they say on the internet. So I think...
Hey, yo, I told you we need to watch this shit. They trying to dox people on the internet and tie your name to what you said. That's what I'm saying, man. The further along we go, the more enslaved we get. That's why I'm like, the 1800s just seem like the most freest time, but most people would think, because of the history that they taught, you couldn't do shit. But every major act that get passed, more and more freedoms get took away. The Patriot Act, the Healthcare Act.
That this is far more corrupt than I even imagined when I entered politics. But I will say this: it is going to take a leader from the outside with fresh legs from the next generation to unite this country. Not the broken politicians who are puppets of the puppet masters, but the actual people in this country. Thomas Jefferson was 33 when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. I think it's going to take somebody whose best days in life are still ahead to see a country whose best days are ahead of itself. And I think I can reach that next generation better than anybody else in this race.
Thank you. Response.
Megyn. First of all, we weren't bankrupt when I left the UN. We're people of service. My husband is in the military, and I served our country as UN ambassador and governor. It may be bankrupt to him, but it certainly wasn't bankrupt to us. Secondly, I did serve on the board of Boeing. I did a lot of work with Boeing when I was governor. They were a great partner to me. I served for 10 months. And then when they decided after COVID that they wanted to go for a corporate bailout, I've never supported corporate bailout, so I respectfully stepped back and got off the board. I love Boeing. They build good commercial airplanes. They build airplanes for our Air Force. I am proud of them. They employ a lot of people in South Carolina, but that's why I left the Boeing board. There's nothing to what he's saying. And in terms of these donors that are supporting me, they're just jealous. They wish that they were supporting them, but I'm not going to sit there and do
Let me get the governor in.
So, Vivek, he wrote a book talking about ESG and these woke corporations and BlackRock. The idea that I want to do that in Florida, they were managing our pension, part of our pension, and then when they did the ESG, I took $2 billion away from BlackRock. We took action. This ESG, they call it environment, social governance, and again, Nikki is meeting with all these people. They want to use economic power to impose a left-wing agenda on this country. They want basically to change society without having to go through the constitutional process. We've kneecapped it in the state of Florida. The next president of the United States needs to be able to go to that office on day one and end ESG. And the fact of the matter is, we know from our history,
there is nothing you can do. This is going to happen, man. This is coming. I mean, it sounds good. It sounds nice, but yeah, I might can slow it up a little bit. But no, this one world order is coming. There's nothing you can do about it.
Nikki will cave to those big donors when it counts, and that is not acceptable.
I did write that book, Ron, and the irony is Nikki Haley was heaping praise on me when I wrote that book, but now I worry. I was warning about the woke industrial complex in this country as a warning. Apparently, she read it as a how-to manual, just like she reads George Orwell's books as well. And so I think that's actually far more dangerous than, this is really important for people to understand. We're marching towards fascism under Biden. Jack Smith has subpoenaed every last retweet that someone has issued from Donald Trump in the year 2020. The only person more fascist than the Biden regime now is Nikki Haley, who thinks the government should identify every one of those individuals with an ID. That is not freedom. That is fascism. And she should come nowhere near the levers of power, let alone the White House.
I got to get to Governor Christie. I haven't forgotten.
No, but can I just say?
Oh, let me say something right quick. Both, everybody. Them is fake booze, man. If you look down in this comment section, nobody dislikes Vivek. Everybody loves Vivek. Everybody's saying Vivek got his vote. So this shit be fake as fuck.
But can you speak?
I really appreciate
how
that.
You doing, sir?
Good to see you.
Can you please speak to the requirement that you said that every anonymous internet user needs to out themselves? They're both hitting you on it.
I would be happy to, and I love all the attention, fellas. Thank you for that. You know, I'll say this. What I said was that social media companies need to show us their algorithms. I also said there are millions of bots on social media right now. They're foreign, they're Chinese, they're Iranian. I will always fight for freedom of speech for Americans. We do not need freedom.
I mean, we could take our word for it that they're foreign, but we don't know where the fuck these bots is coming from. That could be just another ploy, just another play. Oh, look, y'all got bots, so we got to identify everybody. We got to get rid of the bots, yeah.
Of speech for Russians.
Create the problem with the solution already in mind.
And Iranians and Hamas. We need social media companies to go and fight back on all of these bots that are happening. That's what I said. As a mom, do I think that social media would be more civil if we went and had people's names next to that? Yes, I do think that, because I think we've got too much cyberbullying. I think we've got child pornography and all of those things. But having said that, I never said government should go and require anyone's name.
She said, I want your name. As President of the United States, her first day in office, she said, one of the first things I'm going to do.
I said we were going to get the millions of bots.
She wants government ID to dox
That's what you're saying.
That's what she said. You can roll the tape. She said, I want your name. And that was going to be one of the first things she did in office. And then she got real serious blowback, and understandably so, because it'd be a massive expansion of government. We have anonymous speech. The Federalist Papers were written with anonymous writers. Jay, Madison, and Hamilton, they went under Publius. It's something that's important, and especially given how conservatives have been attacked and they've lost jobs and they've been canceled. You know the regime would use that to weaponize that against our own people.
Okay,
it was a bad idea.
We're giving away free Donald Trump.
And this is AI. These little commercials with Steve Harvey and Donald Trump and stuff like that, and they keep on talking about they giving away free stuff. They're using AI to do this stuff. So we're gonna end up hearing something about this stuff. But I don't know if these people are giving away their rights. I know a lot of musicians, a lot of rappers have given away the publishing, I believe, to AI, so they can do what they want to do, make money.
Bloggers should have to register with the state if they're going to write about elected officials. It was in check your newspaper. It was absolutely there. I have never said government should
trample on your constitutional
rights. You can come back to it later.
This is more dangerous than the Democrats.
You're lying.
This section's over. Okay, Governor Christie.
Really?
Just that piece.
Usually not so, but okay, let's go.
What's happening? Okay, I got you. Listen, you endorsed Donald Trump in 2016 and 2020. You gave him an A for his first term. Since then, however, you've turned on him, calling him a liar, a loser, a con man, and someone who cannot win. You've even said that you got into this race just to stop President Trump. His approval rating with Republicans is currently at 81%. Yours is at 25. Your best state is New Hampshire, and even there, 2/3 of GOP voters say they would be angry and disappointed if you won.
Yeah, I believe now is the time for the female president, brother. Donnell. I believe we itching real close to that. If you check out that Gerald Ford interview, some little kid asked him, like, do you think it'll ever be a female president? And he explains he said, yeah, and he explains the way that it would happen. He said it would come from a female vice president, something happening to the real president, and then that's how you get your first female president.
Respectfully, Governor, you have not stopped Mr. Trump, and voters may wonder how you could possibly become the nominee of a party that does not appear to like you very much.
Yeah, well, look, Megyn, it's often very difficult to be the only person on the stage who's telling the truth, and the only person who is taking on what needs to be taken on. I look at my watch now. We're 17 minutes into this debate, and except for your little speech in the beginning, we've had these three acting as if the race is between the four of us. The fifth guy, who doesn't have the guts to show up and stand here, he's the one who, as you just put it, is way ahead in the polls. And yet I've got these three guys who are all seemingly to compete with, Voldemort, he who shall not be named. They don't want to talk about it. The fact is that when you go and you say the truth about somebody who is a dictator, a bully, who has taken shots at everybody, whether they've given him great service or not over time, who dares to disagree with him, then I understand why these three are timid to say anything about it. Maybe it's because they have future aspirations. Maybe those future aspirations are now, or maybe they're 4 years from now. But the fact of the matter is the truth needs to be told. And for us to go 17 minutes without discussing the guy who has all those gaudy numbers you talked about is ridiculous. I'm in this race because the truth needs to be spoken. He is unfit. This is a guy who just said this past week that he wants to use the Department of Justice to go after his enemies when he gets in there. I mean, the fact of the matter is, he is unfit to be president, and there is no bigger issue in this race, Megyn, than Donald Trump, and those numbers prove it.
Governor Christie.
You're sending out rewards and payouts, but it's
every 2 minutes we gotta take a commercial. They messing with me.
That issue of Donald Trump in just a moment, but I'd like to first get to some questions on Israel. Governor DeSantis, tonight as we speak, the war is back on in Gaza. Israeli tanks are on the move and have surrounded the home of the leader of Hamas. 8 Americans have been held hostage in the tunnels beneath Gaza for 60 days now. American troops and warships in the Middle East are under attack. How far would you go as president to secure the release of those 8 American hostages? And would it include sending American forces into combat?
We have to look out for our people. When there are hostages, commander-in-chief, you have to do whatever you can to get them done. But the overall issue with this is this administration is trying to hobble Israel from being able to defend itself. They have a right to eliminate Hamas and win a total and complete victory so that they never have to deal with this again. Hamas wants nothing less than a second Holocaust. They would wipe off every single Jew off the map. They would destroy the state of Israel if we could. Joe Biden will say they support Israel, and then they do nothing but try to kneecap them every step of the way. You should not try to direct their war effort. We should work together with them so that they can bring Hamas to heel. Look, I served in Iraq back in the...
Oh, yeah, America and Israel, they kind of beefing right now because America's like, oh man, can y'all chill out with the bombing so we can get the hostages out? Y'all forgot about the hostages? Israel like, man, we just about to go here and wipe everybody out. And America's like, yo, man, chill the fuck out. We got to get the hostages out. At least y'all don't care about y'all people. That's one thing. At least let us get the American hostages out. So that little beef is that's a monkey wrench in the whole situation because I know America's they're eyeing Iran. They won't smoke with Iran.
Day. I'm the only one running for president that served in the military. I understand that part of the world. It's not the best part of the world. We do have troops there that Biden is leaving basically as sitting ducks, and you have the Iranians that are attacking these troops, and he's responding with basically pinpricks. If you harm an American service member, you're going to have hell to pay when I'm president. We are not going to let our troops be sitting ducks. We also need to look at what's the underlying problem here. Iran. Biden is doing nothing to bring Iran to account. You got to turn the screws on them. Don't let them have any oil revenue. The money they get, they send to Hamas, they send to Hezbollah, and they foment jihad throughout the Middle East. So Biden has empowered Iran just like he's empowered other adversaries. We stand with Israel. They're our best ally in the Middle East. We have a unique relationship with them, and you will see a strong relationship when I'm the president of the United States.
But would you send American
Elizabeth, look, this is the problem with the first 3 debates. Ron gets asked a question, and he doesn't answer it. Your question was very specific. You said, would you send American troops as commander-in-chief? And he went on to this minute 30-second hosanna about his knowledge of the military and what we need to do and didn't answer your question. Look, when you're president of the United States, you're not going to have a choice whether to answer that question or not. Your generals, your Secretary of Defense, your Secretary of State, your National Security Advisor are going to present plans to you. They're going to look at you and say, do we go or don't we, Mr. President? And you can't give a 90-second speech about your military services.
So would you send American troops in to rescue those hostages?
Absolutely. If they had a plan which showed me that we could get them out safely, you're damn right I'd send the American Army in there to get our people home and get them home now. And I'll answer that question directly.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Mr. Ramaswamy, you have said it was irresponsible for Ambassador Haley to call Hamas's terrorist rampage an attack on America and for her to, quote, rabidly shout, finish them, end quote. The Hamas terror attack left dozens of Americans dead and was the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Why wouldn't it be a good thing to finish Hamas?
Finish them was purposefully vague in a discussion that included Iran, which is what I objected to. And I think it's, as U.S. president, you have to be responsible. What happened to Israel was dead wrong. What Hamas did was medieval. It was subhuman. It was immoral. And we have to call that out for what it is on October 7th. But to say that that was an attack on America fails a basic test. I mean, Nick, if you can't tell the difference between where Israel is and the U.S. is on a map, I can have my 3-year-old son show you the difference. That is irresponsible because it has major consequences, because that doesn't leave room for what actually is an attack on America. So I believe I have the strongest pro-Israel position actually on the stage, even though it's a little bit different than the standard GOP talking points. And it is this. The founding vision of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, the George Washington figure of Israel, what did he believe? He believed that we don't want, as Israel, to depend on the fleeting sympathies of the West and have our hands tied. I think Israel has an absolute right to defend itself to the fullest without the US, the UN, or the EU, or anybody else second guessing their decisions, as the Biden administration, guess what, is now starting to do. I think that's a more deeply pro-Israel position than anybody else, and it keeps the actual lines of accountability clear because it is a pro-American position. And as leader of the United States of America, just as a father of two sons, my sole moral duty is to my family. As your next president, my sole moral duty is to you, the people of this country. That's how I'm going to lead. So I'll tell Bibi, you smoke the terrorists on your southern border, you go ahead and we're rooting for you. We're going to smoke the terrorists on our own southern border, and that's how I'm going to lead this country.
But Americans were killed in that attack. Americans were killed in that attack. And so if you looked at this terrorist attack and the number of Americans, this would be one of the top 10 terrorist attacks in American history. So our own people were killed in that attack. And I think it's absolutely appropriate to point that out and to say that we're in this together and we are going to work with Israel so that these people are brought to justice.
I agree with that.
Ambassador Haley, I'm coming to you. Iran is on the threshold of becoming a nuclear state. The Wall Street Journal reported that Iranian military leaders gave the green light for Hamas's attack on Israel. You said in last month's debate that, by contrast to the Biden administration's approach to Iran, you would, quote, punch them once and punch them hard. Were you saying that it's time to bomb Iran?
No, I was not saying it's time to bomb Iran, but I will tell you, I dealt with Iran every day when I was at the United Nations, and they only respond to strength. What they don't respond to is when you weaken the sanctions like they did on Iran that allowed China to send them billions to fill their proxies. What they don't respond to is when you give $6 billion for 5 hostages. That only makes them want more hostages. What they don't respond to is when they do 140 strikes on our men and women in Syria and Iraq, and we do nothing but just some small shots back. You've got to punch them hard, and let them know that. That's the only way they're going to respond. So the way you do that is you go after their infrastructure in Syria and Iraq where they're hitting our soldiers. That's what you do. And then that's when they'll back off. The problem is you have to see that all of these are related. If you look at the fact Russia was losing that war with Ukraine, Putin had hit rock bottom. They had raised the draft age to 65. He was getting drones and missiles.
Russia was losing that war to Ukraine. That's crazy. I said this shit. I said, man, ain't no way Russia can win this war. And now we got the second war. And then look, China is trying to look to invade Taiwan. And you still got North Korea out there. And then, like I showed you, that movie, Leave the World Behind, that the Obamas produced, you know, it's about war. And then look, these people up here, this is the fourth debate. They up here talk about going to war.
Drones from Iran, missiles from North Korea. And so what happened? When he hit rock bottom, all of a sudden, his other friend, Iran, Hamas goes and invades Israel and butchers those people on Putin's birthday. There is no one happier right now than Putin because all of the attention America had on Ukraine suddenly went to Israel. And that's what they were hoping is going to happen. We need to make sure that we have full clarity that there is a reason, again, that Taiwanese want to help Ukrainians because they know if Ukraine wins, China won't invade Taiwan. There's a reason the Ukrainians want to help Israelis because they know that if Iran wins, Russia wins. These are all connected. But what wins all of that is a strong America, not a weak America. And that's what Joe Biden's given us.
I want to say one thing about the tie to Ukraine, if I may.
This revolutionary new superheater can warm up.
She said on Putin's birthday. Like I said, they can't lie about them dates. Them birth dates. Matter of fact, hold on. I'll just let this keep going. This is the Pope birthday, 12/17. That's the day we had the big live stream, right? So this guy who played for North Carolina and the Boston Celtics just passed away, right? Eric Montross. And it just happened to be on the Pope's birthday, 12/17/2023. He played for, look this, Boston Celtics. Don't worry about them right now. But he played for the Dallas Mavericks, the New Jersey Nets, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Detroit Pistons, and the Toronto Raptors. Okay, all right. I'm going to leave him alone. Because I think the Toronto Raptors did win last night. But I was about to say all these teams lost last night. This is Eric Montross, died at 52. And then the Seattle Seahawks went 5-2 at home yesterday against the Eagles, which that was an upset. So this was looking like a nice little parlay, but I didn't know he played for the Raptors. I don't know if the Raptors won or lost last night. I might have to find out. But now we get back to D'Angelo though. That's great. We back on it.
Experience is not the same as foreign policy wisdom. I want everybody at home to note that I was the first person to say we need a reasonable peace deal in Ukraine. Now a lot of the neocons are quietly coming along to that position, with the exceptions of Nikki Haley and Joe Biden, who still support this, what I believe is pointless war in Ukraine. And I think those with foreign policy experience, one thing that Joe Biden and Nikki Haley have in common is that neither of them could even state for you 3 provinces in eastern Ukraine that they want to send our troops to actually fight for. Look at that. This is what I want people to understand. These people have, I mean, she has no idea what the hell the names of those provinces are, but she wants to send our sons and daughters and our troops and our military equipment to go fight it. So reject this myth that they've been selling you, that somebody had a cup of coffee stint at the UN and then makes $8 million after, has real foreign policy experience. It takes an outsider to see this through. Look at the blank expression. She doesn't know the names of the provinces that she wants to actually fight for. And there's a couple of experts right there, the donors right there that are playing about the pocketbook.
Enough. Let me just say something here. You know, his reasonable peace deal in Ukraine, he made it clear. Give them all the land they've already stolen, promise Putin you'll never put Ukraine in Russia, and then trust Putin not to have a relationship with China. Let me tell you something. That's no reasonable.
That's not my deal. That's not my deal.
Yes, it's exactly what you said. You do this at every debate. You say, no, don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you. Okay? You say this. You do this. You do this at every debate. You go out on the stuff and you say something. All of us see it on video. We confront you on the debate stage. You say you didn't say it, and then you back away. And I want to say,
exactly
I'm not done yet.
Well, this
now
is,
look.
hold on.
And here's what
nonsense.
This is the 4th debate. The 4th debate that you would be voted in the first 20 minutes as the most obnoxious blowhard in America. So shut up for a little while.
I'm going to respond to that. Your version.
We're going to let you respond to that. We're going to let you respond to that.
Let's say something else. We're now 25 minutes into this debate, and he has insulted Nikki Haley's basic intelligence. Not her positions, her basic intelligence. She doesn't know regions. She wouldn't be able to find something on a map that his 3-year-old could find. Look, if you want to disagree on issues, that's fine. And Nikki and I disagree on some issues. But I'll tell you this, I've known her for 12 years, which is longer than he's even started to vote in a Republican primary. And while we disagree on some issues and we disagree about who should be president of the United States, what we don't disagree on is this is a smart, accomplished woman, and you should stop insulting her.
So I'm going to take this. Several times over. So first of all, I think we just learned something from Chris Christie. We learned 3 things. We learned 3 things right there. First of all, Chris Christie also doesn't know what provinces in eastern Ukraine he actually wants us to fight for. Chris, your version of foreign policy experience was closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York. Yeah. So do everybody a favor, just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal, and get the hell out of this race. When it comes to I think if you're going to actually send your sons and daughters to...
Hey, I told you. It got nasty up here. Well, these niggas was fighting.
Die in somebody else's war. Excuse me, Chris, I'm speaking, and I'm not done yet.
I haven't heard the time when you were
be done. So listen up to this. Is if these people want to send your sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine, they've been arguing for it for a year. $200 billion of our taxpayer money sent over. Neither of them could even name for you the provinces that they actually want to protect. And this is the people who have been touting their so-called foreign policy experience. It is intellectual fraud. These people are lying to you. The same people who told you about weapons and mass destruction in Iraq to justify that invasion didn't know the first thing about it, yet they sent thousands of our sons and daughters to go die. The same people who told you the same in Afghanistan, where the Taliban is still in charge 20 years later. $7 trillion of our national debt due to these toxic neocons. You can put lipstick on a Dick Cheney. It is still a fascist neocon.
Thank you, Mr.
See that today.
Thank you, Mr.
Dick Cheney all over again in this party.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. 15 seconds.
Name the provinces. Neither of you could even name the provinces.
Let me just.
It's actually Crimea is the wrong Crimea.
All right. Let me just say this. You know, this is the kind of thing where he talks about experience. You know, I was the U.S. attorney in New Jersey when the terrorist attacks were launched against the United States in 2001. I brought the first two cases in this country against terrorists who tried to attack us again. And I know about the threat of terrorism and bullying in this country and around the world. And at that time, he was learning about the provinces in Ukraine, sitting with his smart-ass mouth at Harvard. That's what was going on. And so the fact of the matter is, and back then he was a Democrat. So you know, the fact is that all he knows how to do.
You're busy hugging Barack Obama.
Thank you.
All he knows how to do is insult good people who have committed their lives to public service and not say anything that moves the ball down the field for the United States.
This mistake is costing.
This is better than Baddies. This is better than Bad Girls Club. Shit. They talking shit. They talking shit.
Because if you say you're not a victim of mind control, you are lying to yourself and you are deceived. If you no longer want to live in deception, It's time to deal with the truth.
All right, hold on. Before we do that, skip ahead a little bit. Because we're gonna talk about these TVs, right? But let's hold on. Because we need to talk about 2024, right? 224. Like I said, it's gonna be an 8 universal year. Kobe Bean Bryant. Water number 24. Okay, so like I told the young brother, 24 is for the day. So it's a son number. All right, so and Kobe Bryant, when he died, this was the son sacrifice, right? They buried him at Corona Del Mar. He was leaving Catholic Mass. Because we know the Catholics, they it's all about the son. All right. Now, Kanye West then made an appearance, right? Kanye West was in the commercial with Kobe Bryant. And that's when with the helicopter and everything, that weird commercial. So if you take Kanye West's name, it's Kanye, which is 5 letters, and then West, which is 4 letters. All right. So both of these brothers work for the Jesuit order, all right, in the Catholic Church. Now, what's coming up is the 60th presidential election. All right. Now, what they was just talking about, I guess this is Putin's birthday, but this is what Nikki Haley just said. So I'm quoting her. But this is the day of the Hamas attacks. All right. You see that the numerology come out to the number 60. All right. This is the day that 2K came out. You see, the numerology that day was the number 60. All right. And Kobe Bryant, his last game, he scored 60 points. All right. Day of the year. It's 251 days left in the year. All right. That's the 54th prime number. Yeah, Kobe Bryant was a son sacrifice. He also wore the number 8 too. Okay. Yeah, you see 60, 24. You know, he wore the number 24 too. So 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, so the number 60 has been big. That's because the 60th presidential election is coming up. All right. So right now, I'm guessing Joe Biden's gonna be president because something's gonna end up happening to him for us to get a female president. And that's what I think this Usher, the House of Usher and the Usher performing at the Super Bowl, they're ushering in something. It's probably transgender, but I mean, it's gonna start with that woman leadership. Right? Not trying to be funny at all. All right, so yeah, the 60th presidential election. All right, the number 60 is also related to both of these presidents because he was elected in 1860. He was elected in 1960. All right, we know what happened to both of these presidents. All right, 16th president, the 35th president, JFK. Okay, so now Joe Biden is the 46th president. So, and he's Catholic, just like JFK was Catholic. All right, so 35, 46. These are the Catholic numbers. All right. Like I said, Kobe Bryant was leaving Catholic Mass. All right. Man, couldn't nobody pull this off but the church, y'all. All right. Yeah. Kobe Bryant reportedly attended Catholic Mass hours before the crash. All right. And you seen that his daughter wore the number 2 and he wore the number 24. Like this date that we coming into. All right. That's because that Kobe Bryant death, man, I don't know if y'all realize it. That was a huge death. I can't think of one bigger since then. That shocked everybody. Then you know his 13-year-old daughter dies too. All right. Her name is Gianna. This happened in 2020. The George Floyd incident happens in 2020 also. And his George Floyd daughter name was Gianna too. I could go on for days about George Floyd, but let me stay on track. But let's keep going. Yeah, he was leaving Catholic Mass. All right. So Yeah, Kanye, Kyrie, all these names that start with the letter K, and K is the 11th letter. All right. And the 11 is for the Magic. 11 is for the Magic. All right. The MK. Start with an M, end with a K. That Magic. Like MK Mind Control. All right, so there we see. That's Pope Benedict, right? He died before 2023 started. Like I said, 2023 is spiritual year. So we take stuff as spiritual and they take stuff as religious. All right. So now we want heading into this 8 year, which is going and it's 2024. So there's going to be a lot of stuff about the sun and the Catholic Church. All right, coming into this year. This that commercial I was telling you about, the Kobe Bryant and the helicopter and Kanye, how they all connected, right? In fact, they got pictures together. Matter of fact, they got other commercials together. Yeah, Kobe and Kanye, probably both Jesuit educated, right? So here's LeBron and Michael Jordan and Kobe. Now LeBron, his name is LeBron, which is L-E, Bron. Just flip that L-E around, you get L. All right, so LeBron is representing electricity. Michael, the M is for magnetism. And you got Kobe, the Kobai, which that's why he passed away, because he's representing basically the spirituality in between the two. You know, they got the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. It's a Trinity, right? And this is for basketball. And a lot of stuff been pointing towards Las Vegas. Like they just had a shooting at the University of Las Vegas. The in-season tournament was in Las Vegas. LeBron's trying to buy a team in Las Vegas. The Super Bowl is going to be in Las Vegas. So 2024 and Las Vegas, Sin City. Sin City. Universal 8 year. It's a lucky year. This is some silly shit, right? But I just want to show. Yeah, here we go, right here. Wealth, power, and influence. It's a money year. Abundance. And this is for the whole, United States. And before I can even get this information out to y'all, bro, they said we're gonna do it early. Because it's almost too late. The stock market get too high. Why buy in while it's high? And it's gonna eventually dip or crash. You want to buy in while it's low or while it's already been crashed. You feel me? So yeah. Oh, cold, man. This is his year. The Lakers, I don't want to jinx them, but they should win the championship. I would go ahead and pick them. Because look at it like this. They won in 2020. It's gonna be 2024 if they win it again. So that'll be 2 titles in 4 years. You see what I'm saying? 2 titles in 4 years. That's 24. And then if they win it, if they go back to back, that'll be 3 titles in 5 years. You feel me? And LeBron's just educated. He went to St. Mary, St. Vincent. All right, St. Mary. They act like he ain't got a dad. And so he's basically born of a virgin. He's the immaculate conception. He's the chosen one. And if you look at his mom's name, first name is Gloria, but her middle name is Marie, like Mary. Feel me? So yeah, all this stuff follows the script, man. And with the script, which comes from the scriptures. You feel me? And the universal 8 year abundance. And there is the magician. All right, as above, so below. The Taurus field, it makes an 8 too. So like I said, and that's to recycle everything coming back around. That's why I said it's good to plant seeds before the universal 8 year. All right. Matter of fact, let's get to this. Here go the Pope right here. He was just in the news yesterday after his birthday. Yep, after his birthday, he did this.
For blessings to same-sex couples. Yes, it's a major breakthrough within the church, but it comes with approach to same-sex couples. The Pope officially approves allowing priests to offer blessings to same-sex couples. Yes, it's a major breakthrough within the church, but it comes with a caveat. The blessings cannot be granted at the same time as a civil union or in a ritual that even smells like a wedding. So for some Catholics who are LGBTQ, today brings some mixed news. Kent is here now to walk us through this. Hi, Kent.
Hi, Jana. Yeah, in this announcement, the Pope made it clear this morning that people seeking God's love and mercy shouldn't be subject to an exhaustive moral analysis to receive it. But tonight, it's still unclear how many local church leaders will grant such a blessing to a same-sex couple. And because it stopped short of recognizing same-sex marriage, it's also unclear who will seek one. As a
You know, it's like that man said in that video I showed. The Pope and the papacy, they want to destroy basically the middle class. They feel like it should only be two classes. You know, the rich and then the very poor. All right, so this is a part of destroying the middle class. Is genderless. It's one gender. That's part of the one world order too. Is one gender, and one gender means no babies. No babies mean population control. It ain't gonna be like this stuff is never done with, hardly ever done with violence, bro. They can do it through the music. The 40s, the 50s, and 60s is all love music. The 70s to get a little funky, you know what I'm saying? The 80s, funky too. The 90s, we start shooting, you know what I'm saying? But it went from that love music, baby making music. The baby making music was so strong, they had a baby boom. All right, now they don't need no baby boom because everything's about to be automated and AI. So we can use less people. You feel me? So all of this stuff we about to see this whole 2024, this election year, is gonna be all, man. It's gonna be stupid, man. I'm gonna try to keep up, but like y'all see, bro, I got all these notes, and then I got all these tabs open, man. This stuff happens fast, and then some stuff don't mean shit, and then there is some stuff that you got to keep up with. So.
Legislator who helped lead the charge for the passage of Minnesota's Freedom to Marry Act 10 years ago.
For dignity,
Senator Scott Dibble
vote yes for love.
Knows what progress for same-sex marriage looks like. And as a Catholic who's also a married gay man, he views today's decree by Pope Francis allowing for the blessing of same-sex couples as a complicated milestone.
That's great news. That's a big breakthrough.
And you got to remember, this is the first Jesuit Pope, right? This Pope right here, St. Francis, doing this a day after his birthday, which if you do the numerology on his birthday, is 3/8, it's 38. All right. Like 2 years ago on his birthday, the Golden State Warriors played the Boston Celtics. All right. And that ended up being the finals that year. All right. So it's always good to know what teams is playing on the Pope's birthday. Just like we watched these two football teams played on the Pope's birthday, the Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills. So that's something to keep an eye out.
That is a gigantic advancement. There's no denying that whatsoever. But it's mixed.
In fact, we're moving on from here. Let's move on. All right. So I was talking about this TV show, man. Tell me if y'all checked this TV show out, man. Let me know. Here's the date. Right, it came out 10/12. So that's basically, I just see 112. Okay, so 112 has been very important this year because 11/2 is the date that this Balfour Declaration came to pass. All right, and now this Balfour Declaration, right? This is the letter that Lord Balfour wrote to Lord Rothschild, right, begging for a Zionist state, right? And they were saying they're going to take over Palestine. All right. So that date has led us to this war that's going on right now, which is looking like America's going to have to get involved in. All right. Now, you see Jay Kidd is 50 years old, 50 for the United States. Kidd, right? Jason Frederick Kidd playing in Dallas. This is where JFK got shot at. It's in Dallas. All right. If you look at his initials, he's JFK. All right. So now that 2011 finals, right? In fact, let's pull it up. That 2011 finals when Dirk Nowitzki beat LeBron James, right? That was some symbolism, right? You got this dude JFK in Dallas. He's playing LeBron James, which LeBron is, they call him the king. All right. If you look at him, the two type players is LeBron James and Dwayne Wade in this finals. LeBron wears the number 6. Dwayne Wade wears the number 3. It's 1963 when JFK gets murdered. All right. So JFK is playing for the other team. It's kind of letting you know. I mean, I'm telling you, man, this 2011 finals, to me, it kind of tell you who killed JFK. Because look, Dirk Nowitzki is a German player. That Skull and Bones is a German organization. I mean, his origin is, I guess the guy who started it was a German guy. George Bush, right, the 41st president, is a German American. All right. Now, he's the 41st president. Dirk Nowitzki is German. And, you know, Dirk Nowitzki wears number 41. Can't find it nowhere, but trust me. There you go. And they took down the king. And you might not find this a lot of places, but the man, a lot of people will say JFK was in on it too. That's the secret, you know, nobody want to talk about. It's this TV show, The House of Usher, right? That's where I got this date from. Now, in the TV show, it's a dude named Roderick Usher. Roderick Usher got 6 kids that passed away. And it kind of reminded me of Joe Biden. Right? Because Joe Biden he got one daughter who passed away, but his wife passed away too. Like, death surrounds Joe Biden. All right. So this dude, Roderick Usher, he got rich off of pharmaceuticals and stuff. And it ended up being a raven following him around, right? And the raven was talk about forevermore and all this stuff. Like the Edgar Allan Poe poetry, right? Sorry, yeah. You know, the raven nevermore. All right. So it's the House of Usher. Usher performing at the Super Bowl. The Raven is in there, right? So you got to know about Baltimore and the Ravens, the Black Bird. All right. The Baltimore is for the Moors. That's what the Moor is about in Baltimore. It's for the Moors. That's why the quarterback is Lamar Jackson. All right. He's probably related to the Moors, just probably like LeBron James is too. All right. And this is why Marcus Garvey used to dress like that. He dressed like these people. And you see, working for the papacy. All right. Working for Rome. So I'm just trying to, I like to make early predictions, man, but at the same time, I don't, because a lot of teams, they can have a decode for them, but it's for them to be in the conference finals. You know what I'm saying? Not the Super Bowl. So you just got to be real careful with that, man. So yeah, Usher from Dallas, Texas. And I've been screaming about Dallas, Texas and the Cowboys for a minute because what's his name? Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, turns 81 years old. And like I showed you with Kobe, scoring the 81 points, You know, I believe it's all connected, bro. I believe it's all connected. All right, so yeah, the fall of the House of Usher is actually a Edgar Allan Poe story or poetry or whatever he used to do. You feel me? And you can see that he died on October 7th, which they just told us this is Putin's birthday, right? I'm just now finding this out. I'm just now seeing this. But also October 7th, like I said, they trying to turn October 7th into the new 9/11 for Israel. All right. This was when the Hamas attacks took place. All right. Now you can see Edgar Allan Poe, who wrote The Raven, Forevermore, and all that stuff, is from, well, he died in Baltimore, Maryland. The Ravens, the Usher, and we walking towards February 11th, which is the Super Bowl. But I can't see 2 years in a row, two black quarterbacks battling out for the Super Bowl. And I can't see 2 years in a row a black quarterback winning the Super Bowl. That's why I'm kind of leaning to it, man. I don't know. Let's keep it pushing though, man. Because I got one more thing I want to show y'all, man, before we get out of here. It's about the TV. So this dude, Truth Unedited, you know, he's a Christian brother, but that's okay. He's man, his research game is dope. And I've been wanting to do a video about TV, but I figured I just review his, man.
And put into full perspective. Let's deal with the influence of the television first. If we go back in time, according to Robert,
and this is Truth Unedited, it's like a 5 or 6 part series, right? He's gonna start off with, you know, the invention of television, and by the time, you know, when television first got hot, it was in every household. Okay, so starting off with the 40s, moving up to the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, you know, until now, till we get to where we are now, and just how TV has shaped the minds of a lot of people, man. This is the MK Ultra too.
Robert Putnam's book, Bowling Alone, The Collapse and Revival of American Community. In the year 1948, 1% of U.S. households owned at least one television. This is obviously a very small percentage. So moving on in time, according to an article found on the Library of Congress site, only 9% of American households had a television set. But by 1960, the figure had reached 90%. So in just a decade, this piece of technology was in 90% of the homes in America. At least one television set. And that number was steady throughout history, never seeing peak drops. The peak ownership percentage of households with at least one television set occurred during 1996-1997 season, with 98.4% ownership. So in the mid to late 90s, almost 100% of households in America had at least one television set in their homes. But as you probably know, a majority of households had more than one set. I know my family did. So let's understand the big picture here and what this actually meant. As for the mainstream in our usage, the television is a one-way communication device. So by the 1960s, whoever had access to this device and technology now had the ability to communicate messages one way to 90% of the United States population. And that's what gave the television its power, the large reach it had over the population. It's like putting those billboards that you would see on the side of the road on the highways, putting it into your home so you can see it every day. And the power of that was enormous. Like if someone had a message that had said that the sky is green, and they said it every day on this device, 90% of the population would see this message as long as they tuned in. But a message that just said the sky was green would not keep the audience viewing. So if this is what I wanted my audience to believe, I might tell a funny story or create a storyline that had nothing to do with the subject of the sky being green. But I would always show the sky as being green. And maybe sometimes let actors talk about it in a scripted, controlled way. Now, in our reality, regardless of what is shown, it doesn't change the truth that the sky is blue. But it does suggest something that the audience may not have agreed with prior, and now they're hearing it. Does that make sense? Let me talk some more about it. Let's speak about those with influence. Those with influence and that had desires to steer the world now had access to 90% of the United States population. Now listen, I haven't dug deeper into the rest of the world because it honestly doesn't matter. This nation was a cultural leader of the world. So as they were influenced, they brought that influence everywhere else in the world. But I do not doubt that the statistics and the way that they work are very much similar. Just putting it all in perspective. Let's keep going. So by the 1960s, there was a product that people could communicate with the rest of the population through, and all they needed to do was get themselves on the sending side of this device, and they would have access to a whole population. So let's be clear about who had the first access. This one-way communication did not start by television first. It started decades before through the radio. People had begun to become accustomed to hearing what was happening all over the world through the radio in their homes or at their businesses. Control over the radio in the United States was first under control by the United States Navy. The radio was first used wartime for coordination and intelligence, and eventually for propaganda. As World War I approached its climax, most parts of the world heard President Woodrow Wilson's 14 points broadcast again and again over the radio. Now, I cannot find the audio of this, but this is the transcript. What he said was besides the point, though. President Wilson proposed a 14-point program for world peace, and then these points were later taken as the basis for peace negotiations at the end of World War I. And this was what the world was hearing in their homes. You can imagine how much trust was being developed. The United States was gaining in influence at that time, and then the president's message of peace was being broadcasted all over the world. But okay, the Navy initially controlled the radio until it decided that it would be better suited to be in control of a private company, the radio I'm talking about. Now let me properly set the scene here. We are almost at the end of the year 1919. World War I was declared an end on November 11th, 1918. At this time, the world was well under control by a few. The robber barons, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Morgans, they very easily yielded power over the country as captains of many industries. Rockefeller, the first billionaire of the United States, his estimated wealth in 1913 was estimated at $900 million, which is said to represent 3% of the United States GDP for that year. This was after the Supreme Court ruling in 1911 that made him even richer, forcing him to split up his company Standard Oil and break it up into 34 separate entities, which included the companies like Exxon, Mobil, and Chevron, just to name a few. The year 1919 was also after J.P. Morgan started General Electric and controlled United States banking. And this was also after these men created the Federal Reserve. Now, if this information is lost on you, I do speak about all this in my Matrix series. I will not go into great depths here. I bring all this up to say that if you look at any of this and ignore the power and control that these men had, then you will be missing a great deal that answers the general question of, but why? It's too much to explain in this video, but the point you should hold is that the world was already snatched away in control. These powerful families, along with others, were the ones who steered the world in the direction that they wanted it to go. And please know and believe that during this period in time, the general public was well aware of these men and the power and control that they had. The general public knew of these men. The people worked at their companies. They were the major employers. They were not hidden in mystery as they are right now. But okay, with all that said, let's keep going with the history. On October 17th, 1919, a new corporation was formed, the Radio Corporation of America. In Ron Chernow's book, House of Morgan, on page 308, he explains this. After the war, the United States feared the British monopoly of undersea cable communications, which had yielded invaluable wartime intelligence. The United States Navy favored the use of a new private corporation supported by Washington to battle Britain in the emerging field of radio technology. Privately, President Wilson notified General Electric that he wanted to counter Britain's cable monopoly with an American radio monopoly. Morgan Money helped GE to buy out British interest in American Marconi. This was the name of the radio company owned by the Navy, which became the Radio Corporation of America. Washington stayed on RCA's board as a non-voting member. By 1921, 3 other American corporations partnered with GE in the RCA venture: AT&T, United Fruit, and Westinghouse. According to the book Tube of Plenty, The Evolution of American Television by Eric Barnell, this was the stock ownership percentage of RCA. General Electric, 30.1%. Westinghouse, 20.6%. AT&T, 10.3%. United Fruit, 4.1%. These were the companies that were now in control of the radio. Now let me help with a little context here. Let me show you how I look at all this when I hear about all these companies. When you dig deep into American business, it's easy to find the power and control. You just have to follow the money. You see, today, we're trained to look at all this by understanding it by corporations, which in turn takes the personal side out of your understanding. But when you know the history, things become much clearer because General Electric, Westinghouse, and AT&T were in primary control by JP Morgan. He was in control of these companies. So though there were different corporations in the mix, power was still in the hands of one. So when they say the ownership percentage of each corporation, all I say is JP Morgan, 30%, JP Morgan, 20%, JP Morgan, 10%. The power and control is easier to understand when you understand these dynamics and understand American business. So be clear, JP Morgan was in control of the radio. That's what you need to understand. He was in control from its inception. And being that by this time, the robber barons all began to work together to have full control over this country through being the main lenders to the United States government, we know the Rockefellers and the other major families were also connected in this decision making. And so it was important that I started here so that anyone that wants to understand the beginnings of this industry can understand this unequivocally without confusion. The radio broadcast communication in the United States that began in the United States was owned and controlled by JP Morgan and the other robber barons given control of the world in order to lead us to the world order that they were told to create. That should now be clear.
It's magic. Yeah. Let's go.
Okay, so after the radio industry was created, the future of it was seen as central broadcasting. Now, I don't want to get too deep with this, but what do witches do? They cast spells. They're doing a broadcast. They know what they're doing. I'm just trying to expose the evil and the wickedness of this whole thing, but that might be going too deep for you at this moment. Let's just keep going. In January 1926, the RCA Board of Directors approved the idea of a new company. It would be owned 50% by RCA, GE 30%, and Westinghouse 20%. GE and Westinghouse, along with AT&T, already had indirect ownership through RCA ownership, and this new company would lease under long-term contracts the AT&T web of wires. So all these companies were in cahoots with each other, but like I said, this is all JP Morgan working with himself. In September 1926, RCA announced the formation of the new company called the National Broadcasting Company, or NBC. Through NBC, events of national importance will be broadcast throughout the United States. The public will be assured of the best programming. And this is very similar to the Standard Oil promise, which is what got Standard Oil to be the largest. He became the standard of oil. But anyways, at this time, it was estimated that 5 million homes in the United States already had radios. 21 million homes remained to be supplied, so there was a big market. By assuring the highest quality programming, the belief was that all would buy one. This is how it worked out. RCA was the world's largest distributor of radios, handling all the radios made by General Electric and Westinghouse. And so this business partnership developed quality in the market and gained new customers and loyalty all around the United States. Yeah, GE and Westinghouse made the radio while they also owned a percentage of RCA, the company who distributed them, while they all owned NBC. The manufacturer, distributor, and now broadcaster were all controlled by 3 companies, while these companies were controlled by one man, JP Morgan. Okay, so in 1933, NBC moved to 30 Rockefeller Plaza, and they called it Radio City. This was a big deal. The phenomenon of broadcasting, holding millions spellbound, was being compared to theater, film, and other types of entertainment. But the difference was it was happening in people's homes. People sat in places and listened to what people said. They were so mesmerized by the fact that this was possible, immediate trust was built. And just so there's even more context, in 1928, Amos and Andy was one of NBC's top series over the radio. This was Amos and Andy. Yeah. In 1929, Columbia Phonograph Broadcast System, later called CBS, was created under the control of the Rockefeller family. When you go through the history and they give you these names of people that they say found these companies, you have to look back in their history and see who they were affiliated with. It's not hard to find these people after you just do a little bit of digging. But anyways, a new broadcast company, CBS, was formed. And then in 1943, a United States Supreme Court decision required NBC to sell one of its networks, Blue Network. It was later renamed American Broadcasting Company. ABC. These companies were forming amongst themselves, and though it might look like there was competition because there were different companies in the mix, the leadership of all of this was in the hands of a very small but powerful few. So by this time in 1943, there were 3 radio broadcast companies. Now, why does this matter in regards to the television? Where am I going with all this? It matters because of what happens next. Who made the TV? It doesn't really matter too much in the grand scheme of things. What matters next is when it comes to the market. But I went into all that history to explain the foundation of control first. I believe firmly in foundation, and I've tried to be thorough so there is no confusion. I mean, I could have easily jumped to this point that we're about to get to, but if you don't understand that this industry was in the chokehold from when it first started, then the full dots of control might not fully connect, and I want them to. In the summer of 1946, RCA got its black and white television sets on the market. In 1947, the opening of Congress was televised for the first time. The television was adopted more quickly into urban American homes.
Look at that, 1947. I knew it was 47. But yeah, 47. Like I said, that's a number of authority time, judge, gavel, Republican, Democrat, government. That's the number 47. Roswell happened in 47. The UFO crashing. I think the CIA or the FBI was established in 1947. So yeah, 47 is a number of authority and government
than any previous new communication technology before it. In 1946, movies and radios were the main way of entertainment for audiences. But over time, the television was adopted in the lives of Americans. Here's the numbers. In 1946, there are 20,000 TVs in the US, which represented 0.02% of the US households with televisions. In 1947, there were 44,000 televisions in the United States, which represented 0.04% of US households with televisions. In 1948, there were 350,000 TVs in the US, which represented 0.66% of the US households with televisions. Okay, here we go. In 1949, there were 1 million TVs, which represented 2% of US households with TVs. 1950, 3.9 million TVs, which represented 8.1%. 1951, 10.3 million, which represented 21.5%. 1952, 15.3 million, 32% US households with a.
Well, he getting up to 1955. When 1955 is when Emmett Till happened. All right, he's showing you this is the beginning of the TV.
Television. 1953, 20.4 million, 42.5%. In 1954, 28.5 million, which represented 59.4% US households with televisions. And then in 1955, it's 64%. Until we get to the 1960s, with 90% of the United States households with at least one television set. All this within a decade. And let's also be clear that during this time, there were only 3 broadcasting networks, NBC, CBS, and ABC, and these were all controlled by the 1% of the 1% who controlled this world. They now had access to communicate whatever they wanted to say and promote through their new device. And if you don't think that was possible, then you don't understand the business of television. I mean, the main business is selling advertisement space within the programs because the television exposure was highly lucrative for businesses. They are called programs for a reason, but I don't want to jump ahead here. This new device changed the American family. What was said was just bringing a TV set into the house brought the need to rearrange the living room furniture away from the previous traditional focal point, such as pianos or fireplaces, large radios, and phonographs. Many families ditched the pianos for the televisions. The living room turned from being a more formal room into a more informal den, or now living room, all because of the television. We have family rooms because of televisions. The television began to take over the way of living for the family, and it changed the habits of the children. Media historian Lynn Spiegel has said, it was said that it was marketed by broadcasters, station owners, and the manufacturers of the television sets that it was hoped that the television would help cement together members of the new post-war, suburban, middle-class, nuclear family with a sense of renewed domestic values. Members of this new ideal family would stay at home together during their leisure time rather than run their separate ways all over town. Stronger bonds of affection and shared interests would form while everyone gathered around the living room's new electronic heart. Spiegel said, not only was it shown to restore faith and family togetherness, but the TV did it in the splendors of consumer capitalism. That's how the television was marketed to the masses, that it was something for the family. So with the programming, the television was now teaching the American population what it meant to be an American. And they were now being fed with the mindsets and influences that those who controlled this technology desired for them. It was first marketed as a device to bring the family together. And that wasn't false advertising.
And look at that little kid. That's a baby boomer. That's a baby boomer. That's my parents. My parents is probably around his age. They was the first ones to get to see the TV, to grow up with the TV. Put it like that. The first people to grow up with the TV is the baby boomer generation. It might be some of y'all grandparents or your parents. Let's keep it rolling.
Advertisement. It did. Families would watch their programs all together in the family room. But it did not take long for that to change once they started adding new programs to target different markets. And understand, the biggest effect came to the target market that this technology was designed for. It is said that the children were mesmerized by such early attractions such as Howdy Doody, and it would turn the children from being active doers to passive viewers, from irresistible forces to immovable objects. Their vision and physical development would suffer. They would ignore their schoolwork, give up their hobbies, and let innate creativity lie dormant. They would forget how to read and quite likely never learn how to converse and have conversation. They would be stunned physically, mentally, and emotionally. It was a sad prospect, it said. This was from Dorothy Barclay, a New York Times reporter reflecting on the late 1940s. Concerned educators were concerned that children were watching as many as 30 hours of TV a week, more than 3 hours on school nights. The television affected family dynamics and traditional parental authority. The concern was that youngsters, they could listen to radio programs while doing other things, but that the TV demanded a child's full attention, and it was more difficult to pry them away from the set after a show was over. And if we look at where we are today, 70 years later, we can see that these concerns were justified, but it's too late. All this change happened rapidly, and we really didn't even get into the mind control yet. What I first want you to get is that the target of the television was not the parents or the adults who were buying these television sets during the 40s and the 50s. It was actually for the new generation that was being born after.
I just said that they plant the seed. This stuff ain't for you. They know you ain't gonna be gay. This is for the next generation, bro. I'm telling you.
We know them as the baby boomers. This was the first generation to truly grow up in full mind control. They set the stage for the rest of us who were born to them. Now, they, of course, had no idea, and we cannot pass full blame onto them, but they were heavily mind controlled, and because of that, today, they are the hardest generation to speak to. Baby boomers have a higher level of education than any previous generation, with 88.8% having completed high school and 28.5% holding a bachelor's degree or higher. And they were the first generation to grow up seeing the television in their homes when they were a child. And the mind controlled started with them. And in order to understand this, we need to start talking about their generation. Because if you watch all of the events that happened in the 60s and the 70s with all the major change, it was for all of them. It wasn't the adults that were doing the sit-ins and the marches. It wasn't the adults protesting for feminism and all that other stuff. It was the youth, the baby boomer generation. And all that change didn't happen to them all because they were just rebels. It wasn't just independent thought, but it was because they were the first generation from young to be mind controlled and programmed. And so if anyone wants to come to me and say, well, hey, I'm not mind controlled, you really don't have a clue. Because the baby boomer generation was the first generation to be mind controlled, and this was 90% of them, because 90% of them had televisions in their home, and they were enrolled in the school system, which enforced many of the radical thoughts that they were hearing on television.
It's a doer, a driver, the catalyst of dreams.
Yeah, he's getting into it.
This is too deep to discuss right now, so we're going to have to stop here and then revisit it. The stage had to be set and properly understood so you can understand where we're going in the next video. But listen, do not listen to people that says that.
All right, so next time, y'all, we're going to get part 2. Definitely going to get part 2. Matter of fact, let me get some of this stuff off my screen, man. Please, y'all. Please let me get some of this stuff off my screen.
In electronics, what made America a super force? They'll tell you they military. Dude, it's the fact that you only good as your own society's compliance and order. You can't conquer nobody else's land if you can't even control your own people. You can hang it up when it's time to go to war if you got to go to war with outsiders while your people out of control and uprising too. When you realize that all of the governments in the world are working together, you'll realize they ain't fighting for resources and all that. They fighting for depopulation because it ain't the people at the top going to war. And you'll realize it ain't about gold, silver, and all that. It's about systems of control. They value in electronics. What made America?
Yeah, that was the and coming right after that TV video, you know. know, the control. That's where the patriots come from. Why do you think that we come up with patriots? It's because the TV taught us how to be patriots.
So I can't really think of where we would
Like
take
the
it.
TV taught,
Okay, without belaboring it, I'm gonna let you carry on.
the TV taught the Nazis how to be Nazis. Yo, man, just do Adam 22. All right, man. I just thought about this. Baby boomers, BB, which is 2222, the master builder number. Speaking of that, Adam 22. This dude is a piece of shit, man. But this dude, this black dude right here, man, he be on them motherfuckers, man.
Sure.
I mean, I like
just one last piece. You know, sometimes we aren't really, seeing ourselves in as much as you said she brought the conversation to you. You said that you didn't feel comfortable initially with the Jason Love being involved in.
Well, I agreed to the Jason Love thing.
Second.
It was just once it actually took place, I had a tiny amount of buyer's remorse that I quickly replaced with realizing like, oh, this is not a big deal. Nothing changed in our relationship after she shot with another guy. So that was pretty abated quickly.
Right. So it's like called the inversion of morals, which is to say that truth be told, in your heart of hearts, you're not comfortable with it. You want to retain your
I've had
spouse.
moments of
One second, I didn't interrupt you.
with it.
I didn't interrupt you at all because I do want to hear you out.
You're kind of pushing like a fake narrative by saying that I'm uncomfortable with
But
it.
I never interrupted you.
Very comfortable.
I never interrupted you because I want to hear you out.
I just wanted to save you a little bit of breath by correcting you. Before
I'm not trying to get you angry. I sincerely am interested in what you have to say, but I didn't interrupt you one time. So the reason I ask is because, as I said, you started off, you said that you felt uncomfortable when it happened. She brought up the conversation. You're not bisexual. So sometimes when things happen and you want to keep your lady, you make the adjustment compromising, but in your heart of heart, that's not really what you wanted. So you're being open, and then you had this idea planted, and then you start adopting it thinking like, okay, well, I'm okay with it. Maybe it's something that I signed off on too. So you assign it mutuality when in actual fact, the inception of that idea came from her and you've adjusted to it.
I wouldn't say the inception of the idea came entirely from her. This is a conversation we've been having throughout the entirety of our relationship as we met more and more male performers that I was comfortable with, and sort of slowly over time realized that this was something that we both felt comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you say that you were comfortable with, right, and it came over time, whereas with the females, it just came straight away, almost like a natural thing, you might say.
Right.
So why, in terms of when the guy comes along, there has to be a process, because it's a process of adjusting to something that's unpleasant.
That's a fact.
Why was there
That's a body bag, bruh. Yeah, he's talking about him. This dude out of 22 and his wife, they be having threesomes with women. He's like, that comes naturally to you. You having a threesome with another man and your wife, you had to think about it. You had to ponder on it. That's because it didn't come natural to you. When you go against nature, like this is what all this woke shit is about. Going against nature. There's consequences for going against nature. There's a reason why you don't see 90-year-old men with wigs on and lipsticks and shit and acting like a flaming homosexual. No offense. I'm trying to give a description. There's a reason for that. Because you go against nature, if you're doing stuff unnatural, you're eventually gonna pay for it.
Process that it took some adoption. What are you asking?
Yeah, it seems as though different than the females came naturally, and it seemed to not be an issue.
Grid One Motorsports donated $200. I guess it is fair that you get to bang other girls, so logically she should get outside D. Still, gotta be tough to see another dude rail your woman. Also, Paige Inge Butler, these folks need your wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this dude gets it, that of course it's going to be a little awkward for you to go through the transition of seeing your girl do that for the first time. But ultimately, she told me, even up until the moment that she was leaving the house to go shoot it, she's like, I won't do this if you don't feel comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. And I told her, even though there is a degree to which I don't feel comfortable with it, I'm still willing to give this a shot because I realize the underlying value. And I mean, to be honest, we've both made 7 figures off of that one scene in and of itself.
And I believe that. I don't doubt the financial aspect at all. But like, for example, and I know maybe people watching might not be able to relate to this, but say once you cross $2 million, right? Have you found that there are a significant number of things you can do with money that you can't do when you have 2 million versus say 15 million?
I'm not really doing it.
He's about to box him in again because, all right, you said you You bragging about the money that you made, but you already got money. It's like, when does protecting your wife and morals and integrity come into play? Like
anything with any of the money I make, I don't have any sort of like fancy habits or hobbies or anything like that. And she's the same way as me. I mean, we're into buying property and starting businesses and stuff like that, but it's not really about the money and what we can do with it because we don't really do anything with it.
Right. So when you say there was an underlying value, what is the underlying value of your wife getting railed by a big black guy?
Probably just money primarily, but then also I think
you guys. All right, wait, go ahead.
He's clueless. He just running his mouth. He didn't trap you, bro. You just said, "Y'all don't need the money." All right. Well, why would you let her do it? Oh, for the money. You fucking.
Let one of them talk. I think that's a checkmate. That's the checkmate right there. That's a checkmate. Let one of them explain why that didn't make sense. Go ahead, love. That was a checkmate. Go ahead.
That what? About you getting railed by big black?
They don't fucking know.
Go ahead. What do you mean?
Tice, go ahead.
I don't know who his wife fucked. Was it?
Wait, okay,
it was a
should
big
we
black
pull
guy.
it?
Yeah, but I'm so confused.
Nick, the last clip, the last clip from Lena's Instagram, it's pulled up.
If you have an hour this week, you can.
All right, Adam 22, man. Crip Mac got locked up and he don't even want to help him out. This dude's a piece of shit. Look, as Adam 22, he had a great year 2022. Now it's 2023. You see what the fuck is going on. You play with numerology if you want to, bro.